earthly remained in the secret keeping of King Theseus, hallowed for all the time the active soil in which they rested. Meanwhile, the strife between his sons went on with unabated fury. 7 champions enlisted under the banner of Hellenic stormed with his Argive allies the battle of 7 gates. But thieves withstood them, and in the last encounter the 2 brothers took each other's life. Creon, now once more undisputed master of the city, resolved to make an example of the iniquity of the invader. He ordered that whilst the body of Eteocles, defender of the city, received all honorable rites of burial, the body of Polynices should be left in ignominy, wet and unburied. Upon the plain where it lay, no one was to touch it. Penalty of death was promulgated against any who should defy this order, and the voices of the city, whether in consent or in fearful submission, was silent.
How heavy the hand of God is upon us. How we who are left must suffer for our father Oedipus. There is no pain, no suffering, no sorrow, no dishonor we have not shared together, you and I. And now there is something more. Have you heard this order? This latest order that the king has proclaimed to the city? Have you heard how our dearest are being treated like enemies?
I have heard no news of those we love, good nor bad. Not since the death of our 2 brothers, both fallen in a day. The Argive army, I hear, was withdrawn last night. I know no more to make me sad or glad.
I thought you did not. That is why I brought you out here, where we shan't be heard.
What is it, Antigone? Black news I can see already.
Oh, Ismene, what do you think? Our 2 dear brothers. Creon has given funeral honors to one, and nothing but shame and ignominy to the other. Eteocles has been buried, they tell me, in state, with all honorable observances due. But Polynices, just as unhappily fallen, he's not to be buried, not to be mourned, to be left unburied, unwept, a feast of flesh for keen-eyed carrion birds. The noble Creon. It is against you and me he's made this order. Yes, against me. And soon he will be here himself to make it plain to those who haven't heard it, and to enforce it.
Oh, my poor Antigone. If this is really true, what can I do or undo to help you?
Will you help me? Will you do something with me? Will you?
Help you do what, Antigone? What do you mean?
Will you help me lift the body? You and me.
You cannot mean to bury him against order? Is he not your brother and mine?
Whether you like it or not, I shall never desert him. Never!
How could you dare when Creon has expressly forbidden it?
He has no right to keep me from my own.
Oh, sister. Sister, do you forget how our father perished in shame and misery? His awful sin, self-proof, blinded by his own self-mutilation. And then his mother, his wife, for she was both, destroyed herself in a noose of her own making. And our brothers, both in a single day, fallen in an awful exaction of death for death, blood for blood. Now we two are left. And what should be the end of us? If we transgress the law and defy our king? Oh, think, Antigone, we are women. It is not for us to fight against men. Our rulers are much stronger than we, and we must obey in this, or in worse than this. May the dead forgive me, but I can do no other but as I am commanded. To do more is madness.
No. Then I shall not ask you for your help, nor would I thank you for it if you gave it. Go your own way. I shall bury my brother. And if I die for it, what happiness! Convicted of reverence, I shall be content to lie beside a brother whom I love. We have but a little time to please the living, but all eternity to love the dead. There I shall lie forever. Live, if you will. Live! And defy the holiest laws of heaven.
I do not defy them. But I cannot act against the state. I'm not strong enough.
Let that be your excuse then. I will go and heap a mound of earth over my brother.
I fear for you, Antigone. I fear.
You need not fear for me. Fear for yourself.
At least be secret. Do not breathe a word of it. I will not betray your secret.
Publish it to all the world, as I shall hate you more.
Your heart burns, and mine is frozen at the thought.
I know my duty, where true duty lies.
But you can do it. But you're bound to fail.
When I have tried and failed, then I shall have failed.
There's no sense in starting on a hopeless task.
Oh, I shall hate you if you talk like that. Leave me alone with my own madness. There is no punishment to rob me of my honorable death.
Go then, if you are determined to your folly. But remember that those who love you still.
The army of Hellenic was gathered against us. In angry dispute, his voice was lifted against us. Like a ravening bird of prey, he swooped around us. But before he could taste our blood or consume us with fire, he fled with the roar of the dragon behind him and the thunder of war in his ears.
Father of heaven abhors the proud tongue's boasting. He marked the oncoming torrent, the flashing stream of the golden harness, the clash of the battle gear. He heard the invader cry victory of our ramparts, and smote him with fire to the ground. Down to the ground with the crest from his hurricane onslaught he swung. With the fiery brands of his hate brought low, each and duel to the doom of destruction appointed by the God that fighteth for us.
Seven invaders at 7 gates. 7 defenders spoiled of their bronze for their tribute to Zeus. Save 2 luckless brothers in one fight matched together, and in one death laid low.
Great is the victory! Great be the joy in the city of Thebes, the city of chariots! Now is the time to fill the tables with glad thanksgiving of wartime ended. Shake the ground with night-long dances, Bacchus afoot and delight abounding. But look, the king comes here, Creon, son of Minocius, whom the gods have appointed to us in our recent change of fortune. What matter is it, I wonder, that has led him to call us together by this special proclamation?
My counselors, now that the gods have brought our city safe through a storm of trouble to tranquility, I have called you, especially out of all my people, to conference together, knowing that you are loyal subjects when King Laius reigned, and when King Oedipus so wisely ruled us. And again, upon his death, faithfully served his sons, till they in turn fell, both slayers, both slain, both stained with brother blood, dead in a day. And I, their next of kin, inherited the throne and kingdom which I now possess. No other touchstone can test the heart of a man, the temper of his mind and spirit, till he be tried in the practice of authority and rule. For my part, I have always held of you and hold it still, that a king whose lips are sealed by fear, unwilling to seek advice, is damned. And no less damned is he who puts a friend above his country. I have no good word for him. Our country is our life. Only when she rides safely have we any friends at all. Such is my policy for our common weal. In pursuance of this, I've made a proclamation concerning the sons of Oedipus, as follows. That Theocles, who fell fighting in defense of the city, fighting gallantly, is to be buried with all the rites due to the noble dead. And the other, you know whom I mean, his brother Polynices, who came back from exile intending to burn and destroy his fatherland and the gods of his fatherland, to drink the blood of his kin and to make them slaves. He is to have no grave, no burial, and no mourning from anyone. It is forbidden. He is to be left unburied, left to be eaten by dogs and vultures, a horror for all to see. As I am determined that never, if I can help it, shall evil triumph over good, alive or dead.
the faithful servants of his country shall be rewarded.
Creon, son of Menachos, you have given your judgment for the friend and for the enemy. As for those that are dead, so for us who remain, your will is law.
We'll see that it is kept then.
My lord, some younger would seem fitter for that task.
Well, watch is already set over the corpse.
What other duty then remains for us?
Not to connive at any disobedience.
If there were any so mad as to ask for death.
Ah! That is the penalty, you see. There is always someone ready to be lured to ruin by hope of gain.
My lord! My lord! My lord, if I am out of breath, it is not from haste. I have not been running. On the contrary, many a time I stopped to think and loitered on the way, saying to myself, why hurry to your doom, poor fool? And then I said, hurry, you fool. If Creon hears this from another man, your head is as good as off. So I'm here, but much against my will is yours. And whatever I have to suffer can't be more than what God wills. So I cling to that for my comfort.
Good heavens, man, whatever is the matter?
To speak of myself first, I didn't do it, sir. Nor so who did. No one can punish me for that.
You tell your story with a deal of artful precaution. It's evidently something strange.
It is. So strange, it's very difficult to tell.
Well, on with it, and let's be done with you.
It's this, sir. The corpse. Someone has buried it and gone. Dry dust over their body they're scattered, in the manner of a holy burial.
What? Who dared to do it?
I don't know, sir. There was no sign of a pick, no scratch of a shovel. The earth was hard and dry, with no trace of a wheel. But whoever it was has left no clues behind him. When the sentry on the first watch showed it us, we were amazed. The earth was hard and dry. The corpse was covered from sight, not with a proper grave, just a layer of earth, as it might be an act of some pious passer-by. When there were no tracks of an animal, a dog, or anything that might have come and mauled the body. Of course, we all started pitching into each other, for anyone might have done it, and no one could stop us, and might have come to blows. Well, we could make nothing of it. Then, one of our men said something that made all our blood run cold, something we could neither refuse to do, nor do, but at our own risk. What he said was, this must be reported to the king. We can't conceal it. So it was agreed. We drew lots for it, and I, such is my luck, was chosen. So here I am. As much against my will as yours, I'm sure. A bringer of bad news expects no welcome.
My lord, I feared, brave the gods. This is an act of the gods.
Enough of that! Or I shall lose my patience and talk like an old fool, although he may be. Blasphemy to say the gods could give thought to carrion flesh. Held him in high esteem, I suppose, and buried him like a benefactor. A man who came to burn their temples down, ransack their holy shrines, their lands, their laws. Is that the sort of man you think gods love? No, not they. There's a party of malcontents in the city, rebels against my word and law. Oh, see to it you. See to it you, upon my oath, I swear, as God above is my witness. We define this doer of this deed or death. No, not just mere death shall pay, but death for your infamy.
May I say more?
No more. Each word you say but stings me more.
Stings in your ears, sir, or in your deeper feelings?
Don't bandy words about my feeling, fellow.
Though I offend your ears, sir, it's not I, but he that is guilty that offends your soul.
born to argue, were you?
Maybe so, but still, not guilty in this business.
Go and find the doer of this deed, as you will learn what ill-fated gain brings unto man.
To think that thinking men should think so wrongly. Well, heaven send they find him, but whether or no, they'll not find me again, that's sure. We never thought to see another day. I'll thank my lucky stars and keep away.
Wonders are many on earth, and the greatest of these is man, who rides the ocean and takes his way through the deeps, through windswept valleys of perilous seas that surge and sway. He is master of all things, by his own will, bending the immortal mother of gods by the sweat of his brow. As year succeeds to year, with toil unending, of mule and plough.
He is Lord of all things living, birds of the air, beasts of the field, all creatures of sea and land. He taketh cunning to capture and ensnare with sleight of hand, hunting the savage beast from the upland rocks, taming the mountain monarch in his lair, teaching the wild horse and the roaming ox his yoke to bear.
The use of language, the wind-swift motion of the brain he learned, found out the laws of living together in the cities, building him shelter against the rain and wintry weather. There is nothing beyond his power. His subtlety meeteth all chance, all danger conquereth. For every ill it hath found its remedy, save only death.
O wondrous subtlety of man, that draws to good or evil ways. Great power is given, and honor to him who upholdeth the country's laws and the justice of heaven. But he that too rashly daring walks in sin, solitary pride to his life's end, at door of mine shall never enter in to call me friend.
But here is a sight beyond all bearing, at which my eyes cannot but weep. Antigone forth faring to her bridal bower of endless sleep.
It can be none other. Antigone! Unhappy maid, unhappy Oedipus's daughter, it is she they bring. Could she have rashly disobeyed the order of our king?
We've got her. Here's the woman that did the deed. We caught her in the act of burying him. Where's the king?
He is just coming out of the palace now.
What's this? What am I just in time to see?
My lord, an oath's a very dangerous thing. Second thoughts may prove us liars, but not long since I swore I would never trust myself again to face your threats. You gave me a drubbing the first time, but there's no pleasure like an unexpected pleasure, not by a long way. So I have come again, though against my solemn oath, and I bring this lady,
whom we have caught in the act of setting the grave in order. There's no casting lots for it this time. The prize is mine, and no one else's. So take her, judge her, and convict her. I'm free, I hope, and quit of this horrible business.
How did you find her?
She was bearing the man with her own 2 hands, and that's the truth.
Are you in your senses? Do you know what you are saying?
I saw it myself. She was burying the man whom you said not to bury. Don't I speak plain?
How did you find her in the act?
It was this way. After I got back to the place, with your threats and curses ringing in my ears, we swept off all the dry earth that was covering the body and left it a sodden naked corpse again. Then we went and sat up on the hill, on the windward side, to keep clear of the stench of him as far as we could. This went on some hours, till the flaming sun was high in the top of the sky, and the heat was blazing. Then a storm of dust, like a plague from earth, from heaven, came sweeping across the ground, stripping the trees bare, filling the sky. You had to shut your eyes to stand against it. Then, when at last it stopped, there was the girl, screaming like an angry bird when it finds its nest left empty and little ones gone. Just like that she screamed when she saw the body naked, crying and cursing those who had done it. Then she picked up the earth with her own hands, and pouring out of a fine bronze urn she had brought, she made an offering 3 times to the dead. Well, as soon as we saw it, down we came and caught her. She wasn't frightened, so we charged her with what she had done before, and this. She admitted it, I'm glad to say, though sorry too in a way. For it's a pity to see somebody get into trouble whom you've no grudge against. However, I'll say that I've never valued anyone else's life more than my own, and that's the honest truth.
Well, what do you say, you hiding your head there? Do you admit or do you deny the deed?
I do admit it. I do not deny it.
You may go. You are discharged from blame. Now tell me, did you know the order forbidding such an act?
I knew it naturally.
And yet you dared to contravene it?
Yes. That order did not come from God. Justice that dwells with the gods below knows no such law. I did not think your edict strong enough to overrule the unwritten, unalterable laws of God and nature. You being only a man. They are not of yesterday or today, but everlasting. Though where they came from, none of us can tell. Guilty of their transgression before God, I cannot be for any man on earth. I knew that I should have to die, of course, with or without your order. If it be soon, so much the better. Living in daily torment as I do, who would not be glad to die? This punishment will be no pain. Only if I'd left my mother's son lie there unburied, then I could not have borne it. This I can bear. Does that seem foolish to you? Or is it you who are foolish to judge me so?
She shows her father's stubborn spirit, foolish not to give way when everything is against her.
Ah, but you'll see, the over-obstinate spirit is soonest broken, as the strongest iron will snap if over-tempered in the fire to brittleness. A little halter is enough to break the wildest horse. Proud thoughts do not sit well upon subordinates. This girl's proud spirit was first in evidence when she broke the law. And now, to an insult to her injury, she gloats over the deed. But as I live, she shall not flout my orders with impunity. My sister's child, were you even nearer, Near and dearest, you shall not escape full punishment. She, and her sister too, her partner doubtless in this bearing. Let her be fetched. She was in the house just now. I saw her, hardly in her right mind either. Often the thoughts of those who plan dark deeds betray themselves before the deed is done. And the criminal who'd been caught tries to make a fair excuse is damned.
Now you have caught. Will you do more than kill me?
No, that is all I could wish.
Why then delay? There is nothing you can say that I should wish to hear. There's nothing I can say can weigh with you. I have given my brother burial. What greater honor could I wish? And all these would say that what I did was honorable, but fear locks up their lips. To speak and act just as he likes is a king's prerogative.
You are wrong. None of my subjects thinks as you do.
Yes, sir, they do, but dare not tell you so.
You're not only alone, but unashamed.
There is no shame in honoring my brother.
Was not the enemy who died with him your brother?
Yes, both were brothers, both of the same parents.
You honor the one, and so insult the other.
He that is dead will not accuse me of that.
He will, if you treat him no less than a traitor.
It was not a slave, but his brother that died with him.
Attacking his country whilst the other defended it.
Even so, we have a duty to the dead.
Not to give equal honor to good and bad.
Who knows? In the country of the dead, that may be the law.
An enemy can't be a friend, even when dead.
My way is to share my love, not share my hate.
Go then. Go and share your love amongst the dead. We'll have no woman's law here whilst I live.
Here comes his many, weeping in sisterly sorrow, a darkened brow, flushed face, and fair cheeks marred with flooding rain.
You crawling viper, you! Lurking in my house to suck my blood! Two traitors unbeknown to me plotting against my throne! Now tell me, do you admit to a share in this burial, or do you deny all knowledge?
I did it? Yes. If she will let me say so. I'm as much to blame as she is. Let me share in your death. Share in the tribute of honor to him that is dead.
You shall not die with me. You shall not claim that which we would not touch.
How could I bear to live if you must die?
Ask Creon. Is he not the one you care for?
You do yourself no good to taunt me so.
Indeed, no. Even my jests are bitter pains.
But how? Oh, tell me, how can I still help you?
Help yourself. I shall not stand in your way.
For pity, Antigone. Can I not die with you?
You chose. Life was your choice when mine was death.
Though I warned you that it would be so.
Your way seemed right to some, to others mine.
And now, both in the wrong, and both condemned.
No. You live. My heart was long since dead, so it was right for me to help the dead.
I do believe the creatures both are mad. One earlier crazed and the other from her birth.
Is it not likely, sir? The strongest mind cannot but break under misfortune's blow.
Well, yours did, when you threw your lot with hers.
How could I wish to live without my sister?
You have no sister. Counted dead already.
You could not take her? Kill your own son's bride?
Oh, there are many other fields for him to plow at.
No truer troth was ever made than theirs.
No son of mine shall wed such vile a creature.
Oh, Iman, can your father spite you so?
With your paramour, I hate you both.
Sir, would you take her away from your own son's arms?
Not I, but death shall.
Be it so. Death, it seems, is certain.
And certain it is. Take them within the proper place for woman. None so brave as to try and find some way of escape when they see life stand face to face with death.
They who know not the taste of evil. From the house that the heavens have shaken, the curse departs not, but falls on all of their blood. Like the restless surge of the sea, where the dark storm drives the black sand deep in the hurls, like the Thracian gale booming down on the echoing shores. In life and in death is the house of Labdacus stricken, generation to generation, with no atonement. It is scourged by the wrath of a god, and for the dead dust's sake is the light of promise. The tree's last root crushed out by pride of heart and the sin of presumptuous tongue. For what presumption of man can match thy power, O Zeus, that art not subject to sleep or time or age, living forever in bright Olympus? Tomorrow, and for all time to come, as in the past, this law is immutable. For mortals greatly to live is greatly to suffer.
Roving ambition helps many a man to good, and many it falsely lures to like desires, till failure trips them unawares, and they fall on the fire that consumes them. Well was it said, evil seems good to him who is doomed to suffer, and short is their time before the suffering comes.
We shall know it soon, and need no prophet to tell us. Ah, son. You have heard, I think, of our final judgment on your late betrothed. No angry words, I hope. Still friends in spite of everything.
I am your son, sir. By your wise decisions, my life is ruled, and them I shall always obey. I cannot value any marriage tie above your own good guidance.
And rightly said. Your father's will should have your heart's first place. Only for this do fathers pray for sons obedient, loyal, and ready to strike down their father's foes and love their father's friends. To be the father of an unprofitable son is to be the father of sorrows, a laughing stock to all one's enemies. Do not be fooled, my son, by the lust and the wiles of a woman. You'll have bought cold comfort if your wife's a worthless one. No wound strikes deeper than love that is turned to hate. This girl's an enemy. Away with her, and let her go and find a mate in Hades. Once having caught her in the flagrant act, the one and only traitor in our state, I cannot make myself a traitor too. So she must die. Well may she pray to Zeus, the god of family love. How if I tolerate a traitor at home shall I rule those abroad? He that is a righteous master of his house will be a righteous statesman. To transgress and twist the law to one's own pleasure and presume to order when one should obey is sinful. and I will have none of it. He who rules his household without a doubt will make the wisest king, or for that matter, the staunchest of subjects. He will be the man you can depend on in the storm of war, the faithfulest comrade in the day of battle. There is no more deadlier peril than disobedience. States are devoured by homes laid in ruins and armies defeated, while simple obedience saves the lives of hundreds of honest folk. Therefore, I hold to the law and will never betray it, least of all for a woman. Better be beaten if needed by a man. Let a woman get the better of us.
To me, as far as an old man can tell, it seems your majesty has spoken well.
Father, man's wisdom is the gift of heaven, the greatest gift of all. I neither am, nor wish to be clever enough to prove you wrong. Though all men might not think the same way as you do. Nevertheless, I have to be a watchdog. I hear whispers spoken in the dark. On every side, I hear voices of pity. For this poor girl, doomed to the cruelest death, and most unjust that ever woman suffered, for an honorable action, burying a brother who was killed in battle, rather than leaving for dogs to maul and carry on birds to peck it. Has she not rather earned a crown of gold? Such is a secret talk about the town. Father, there is nothing I can prize above your happiness and well-being. What greater good can any son desire? Can any father desire more from his son? Therefore I say, let not your first thought be your only thought. Think if it cannot be some other way. But surely, to think your own the only wisdom, and yours the only word, the only will, betrays a shallow spirit, an empty heart. It is no weakness for the wisest man to learn when he's wrong, to know when to yield. So, Father, pause. Put aside your anger. I think for what my young opinions were, as good as it is to have infallible wisdom, since this is readily found, the next best thing is to be willing to listen to wise advice.
There is much to be said, my lord, from his point of view, and for yours as well. There is much to be said on both sides.
Indeed. Am I to take lessons at my time of life from a fellow of his age?
No lessons you need to be ashamed of. It isn't a question of age, but of right and wrong.
And would you call it right to admire an act of disobedience?
Not if the act were also dishonorable.
And was not this act also dishonorable?
The people of Thebes think not.
The people of Thebes! Since when do I take my orders from the people of Thebes?
Isn't there rather a childish thing to say?
No! I am king and responsible only to myself.
If one man's state, what sort of a state is that?
Why? Does not every state belong to its ruler?
Be an excellent king, or a desert island.
Of course. If you're on the woman's side.
No! Unless you're the woman. It is you I'm fighting for.
What? Villain! When every word you speak is against me!
Only because I know you're wrong. Wrong!
Wrong! Wrong to respect my own authority.
What sort of respect trembles on all that is holy?
Despicable coward! No more wool than a woman!
I have nothing to be ashamed of.
Yet you plead your cause.
No! Yours and mine, and that of the gods of the dead.
Never marry her this side of death.
And if she dies, she does not die alone.
Is that a threat? Is that a threat, you impudent?
Is that a threat to try to argue against wrong-headedness?
You'll learn what wrong-headedness is, my friend. To your cost!
Father, who call you mad? You're not my father.
Don't toady with me, boy. Keep that for your lady love.
You mean to have the last word then?
I do. And what is more, by all the gods in heaven above, I'll make you sorry for your infamy. Bring out that she-devil and let her die now with the bridegroom by to see it done.
Inside I'll never see.
No promise, sire, you shall see me again. And those that will, witness of your wickedness and folly.
He is gone, my lord, in very passionate haste. And who may say what a young man's wrath may do?
Let him do. Let him go. Let him rage like no man has ever raged before. He shall not save those two women from their doom.
You mean then, sire, to put them both to death?
No, not the one whose hand was innocent.
And to what death do you condemn the other?
I will take her to a desert place where no man has ever walked and caved in. And there she can pray to death, the god she loves, and ask death if death will help her by.
Where is the equal of love? Where is the battle he cannot win, the power he cannot outmatch? In the farthest corners of the earth, in the midst of the sea he is there. He is here in the face of a fair man. The grip of his madness spares not God or man, marring the righteous man, driving his soul into mazes of sin and strife, dividing a house. For the light that burns in the eyes of a bride of desire is a fire that consumes. At the side of the great gods, Aphrodite immortal works her will upon all.
Oh God! Here is a sight at which my eyes cannot but weep. Antigone, forth bearing to her bridal bower of endless sleep.
You see me, countrymen, on my last journey, taking my last leave of the light of day, going to my rest, where death shall take me alive across the silent river. No wedding day, no marriage music. Death shall be all my bridal dower.
But glory and praise go with you, lady, to your resting place. You go with your beauty, untouched by the hand of consuming sickness, unmarred by the sword, living and free, as none other that ever died before you.
The daughter of Tantalus, a Phrygian maid, was doomed to a piteous death on the rock of Sophocles, which embraced and imprisoned her, merciless as the ivy. Rain and snow beat down upon her, mingled with her tears as she wasted and died. Such was her story, and such is the sleep that I shall go to.
She was a goddess of immortal birth, but we are mortals. The greater the fate to share the glory of a God-born maiden, a living name, but a name undying.
Mockery, mockery. By the gods of our fathers, must you make me a laughingstock while I yet live? O lordly sons of my city, O thieves, your valleys of rivers, your chariots and horses, no friend to weep at my banishment. to a rock-hewn chamber of endless durance, in a strange, cold tomb, alone to linger lost between life and death forever.
My child, you have gone your way to the outermost limit of daring and have stumbled against law enthroned. This is the expiation you must make for the sin of your father.
My father? The thought that sears my soul. The monstrous marriage of mother and son. My father. My parents. Oh, hideous shame. Whom now I follow, unwed, curse-ridden, doomed to this death by the ill-starred marriage that marred my brother's life.
An act of homage is good in itself, my daughter, but authority cannot afford to connive at disobedience. You are the victim of your own self-will.
And must go the way that lies before me. No funeral hymn, no marriage music, no sun from this day forth, no light, no friend to weep at my departing. So to my grave, to my chamber, my bridal bower, my everlasting prison. I go to join those many of my kinsmen who dwell in the mansions of Persephone, last and unhappiest, before my time. Yet I believe my father will be there to welcome me. My mother greet me gladly. And you, my brother, gladly see me come. Each one of you my hands have laid to rest, pouring the due libations on your graves. It was by this service to your dear body, Hellenic, that I earned this punishment which now I suffer. Though all good people know it was for your honor. Oh, but I would not have done the forbidden thing for any husband or for any son. For why? I could have had another husband, and by him other sons if one were lost. But father and mother lost, where would I get another brother? For thus preferring you, my brother, Crown condemns me and hails me away. Never a mother, never a bride, condemned alive to a solitary death. What law have I transgressed? What God can save me now? What help or hope have I in whom devotion is deemed sacrilege? This is God's will, and I shall learn my lesson in death. But if my enemies are wrong, let their punishment be no worse than mine.
Still the same tempest in her heart torments her soul with angry gust.
So that the soldiers can hasten their work, or they too shall suffer.
Alas, that was the word. Death.
It is true. There is no hope.
Oh, by the gods of our fathers, rulers of Thebes, my city, my home, last daughter of your royal house, go I, his prisoner, because I honored the things to which honor truly belongs.
Such was the fate, my child, of Danae, locked in a brazen bower, a prison secret as a tomb where was no day. Her royal wound garnered the golden life from Zeus. So strong is destiny. No armory, no wealth, no tower, no ship that rides the angry sea, her mastering hand can stay.
Andreas' son, the proud Edonian king, pined in a stony cell. At Dionysus' bidding pent to cool his raging fire, till all his full-blown passion spent, he came to know right well what god his ribald tongue was challenging, when to break the fiery spell of the wild maenads reveling and vex the muses' choir.
It was upon the side of Bosphorus, where the black rocks stand, by Thracia's Salmidesus over the twin tide, and Thracia's Ares laughed to see Phineus's angry wife most bloodily blinded her 2 sons while mutely seeking vengeance. Then, crazed with jealousy, the woman smote them with a weaving needle in her hand.
Forlorn they wept away, their sad step-childhood's misery, predestined on their mother's ill-starred marriage day. She was of old Erective blood, cave-dwelling daughter of the north wind god, with rocky steeps where mountain ponies played, where the wild wind nursed her maidenhood. On her, my child, the grey fates laid hard hands, as upon thee.
Gentlemen of Thebes, we greet you, my companion and I, who share one pair of eyes on our journey together. For the blind man goes where his leader tells him to.
You're welcome, Father Teresias. What news do you bring us?
Ah, news you shall have, and advice if you can heed it.
Oh, there was never a time when I failed to heed it, Father.
And thereby have so far steered a steady course.
And gladly acknowledge the debt we owe to you.
Then mark me now, for you stand on a razor's edge.
Indeed. Grave words from your mouth, good priest. Do say on.
I will, and show you all that my skills reveal. At my seat of divination, where I sit these many years to read the signs of heaven, an unfamiliar sound came to my ears, of birds in vicious combat, of savage cries in strange, outlandish language, and the whir of flapping wings, from which I well could picture the gruesome warfare of their deadly talons. Full of foreboding, then I made the test of sacrifice upon the altar fire. There was no answering flame. Only rank juice oozed from the flesh and dripped among the ashes, smouldering and sputtering, and the gall vanished in a puff, and the fat ran down and left the haunches bare. Thus, through the eyes of my young acolyte, who sees for me that I may see for others, I read the signs of failure in my quest. And why? The blight upon us is your doing. The blood that stains our shrines and our altars. The blood that dogs and vultures have licked up. It is none other than the blood of Oedipus spilled from the veins of his ill-fated son. Our prayers, our sacrifices, the gods abominate. How should the birds give any other than ill-omened voices, gorged with the dregs of blood that man has shed? Mark this, my son. All men fall into sin, but sinning, he is not forever lost, hapless and helpless, who cannot make amends and has not set his face against repentance. My words are for your good, as is my will, and should be acceptable, being for your good.
You take me for your target, Reverend Sir, like all the rest. I know your art of old and how you make me your commodity to trade and traffic in for your advancements. Well, trade as you will, but all the silver of Sardis and all the golds of India will not buy a tomb for yonder traitor. No. Let the eagles carry his carcass up to the throne of Zeus. Even that would not be sacrilege enough to stop me from my determination not to allow this burial. No man's act has the power to pollute the goodness of God. But great and terrible is the fault, Tiresias, of mortal men who seek their own advantage by uttering evil in the guise of good.
Ah, is there any wisdom in the world?
Why? What is the meaning of that wide-flung talk?
What prize outweighs the priceless worth of prudence?
Ah, what matches the lack of it?
And there you speak of your own symptoms, sir.
I am loth to pick a quarrel with you, priest.
You do so, calling my divination false.
I say all prophets seek their own advantage.
All kings say I seek gain unrighteously.
Do not forget to whom you say it.
No. Our king and benefactor. By my guidance.
Clever you may be, but not therefore honest.
Must I reveal my yet unspoken mind?
I will reveal all, but expect no gain from it.
Does that still seem to you my motive then?
Nor is my will for sale, sir, in your market.
Then hear this. Ere the chariot of the sun has rounded once or twice his wheeling way, you should have given a son of your own to death, in payment for death, 2 debts to pay. One for the life that you have sent to death, the life that you have abominably entombed. One for the life that is above ground, unburied, unhonored, unblessed by the gods below. You cannot alter this. The gods themselves cannot undo it. It follows of necessity from what you have done. Even now the avenging furies and the hunters of hell that follow and destroy are lying in wait for you, and will find their prey when the evil you have worked for others falls upon you. Do I speak this for my gain? The time shall come, and soon, when your house will be filled with the lamentations of men and of women, and all your neighboring cities will be goaded to fury against you, for upon them too the pollution falls, when the dogs and vultures bring defilement of blood to their hearths and altars. I have done. You have pricked me, and these shafts of wrath will find a mark in your heart. You cannot escape the sting of their sharpness. Lead me home, my boy. Let us leave him to vent his anger on younger years, or school his mind and tongue to a milder mood than that which now possesses him. Lead on.
He has gone, my lord.
Or let's abide the coming of the curse. Both ways are hard.
If you would be advised, my good Lord Creon.
Tell me what to do and I shall do it.
Release the woman from her rocky prison. Set up a tomb for him that lies unburied.
Is it that you wish me to consent?
It is, and quickly. The gods do not delay the stroke of their swift vengeance on the sinner.
I shall do it. I shall. Soldiers and all, get your spades together and let's go up onto the hill. It is I who enslaved her, and I who will set her free. I have learnt that God's law shall be in heaven.
Go, and let your own hand do it, and no other.
O thou, whose hand is many, son of the thunder, a dear child of his Cadmean bride, whose hand is mighty in Italia, in the hospitable valley of Ellipsis, and in Thebes, the mother city of thy worshippers, where sweetest menace gently sprang from the soil. Thou comest to Thebes, and sing thy glad strains. Thebes, where thou lovest most to be, with her mother, the fire-stricken one, sickens to be with thee, healer of all her ill. The stars, whose breath is fire, delight to dance with thee, and the nights within their praises ring. Zeus born, appear, the Thyiads raveling. Come, bountiful Iacus, king!
Here, men of Cadmus City, here in the tent. men of the house of Antigone, people of Thebes, what is the life of man? A thing not fixed for good or evil, fashioned for praise or blame. Chance raises a man to great heights, chance casts him down, for none can foretell what will be from what is. Creon was once an enviable man. He saved his country from her enemies, assumed the sovereign power, and bore it well. Now, all is lost. A life without life's joys is living death, and such a life is his. Riches and ranks, and show of majesty and state. Where no joy is, they are empty, vain, and unsubstantial shadows, of no weight to be compared with happiness of heart.
What is your news? Disaster in the royal house?
Death, and the guilt of it on living heads.
Who did? And by whose hand?
Ammon is dead, slain by his own.
His father?
By his own hand. His father's act is what drove him to it.
Then all has happened as the prophet said.
What's to do, your worships will decide.
Here comes the queen, Evridiki. Poor soul. It may be she has heard about her son.
My friends, I heard you say something as I came to the door. I was on my way to pray at the Temple of Pallas when I heard you talk of some near calamity. But tell me, what have you heard? What is the matter? I am not unacquainted with grief, and I can bear it.
Madam, it was I that saw it, and I will tell you all. It was thus. I attended your husband the king to the end of the field where lay the body of Hellenic, mauled by the dogs. We prayed for him. We washed his remains in holy water. Then we burned what was left of him. And over his ashes we poured some native earth. This done, we turned and walked towards the rocky chamber of the maid who was married to death. But before we reached it, out of it came sounds of anguish. Someone went to tell the king, and as he approached, he said, "Unhappy wretch, is this my foreboding true? Is that my son that I hear? Go inside, go to the mouth of the cave. If it is my son I hear, I think that I do hear my son Ammon, and if not, I am the sport of gods." So we went to see. There she was, hanging by the neck. The rope woven linen from her dress. And there he stood, embracing her body, lamenting for his lost bride, his lost love, cursing his father's cruelty. When Creon saw us go in, he came into the cave, moaning piteously. As soon as his son saw him, he turned and looked at him with an angry stare, spat in his face, and without a word, he drew his sword and struck at him. The king escaped unscathed, but the poor demented boy drove the sword deep into his side. As his life ebbed out of him, he embraced his bride and stained her pale cheeks with his blood. Two bodies lie, wedded in death. Their bridal sleep, a witness to the world, for the great calamity of man comes through man's perversity.
But what is this? The queen has turned and gone without a word.
Yes, it is strange, but I see her not wanting to show her sorrow of her son's death before us all. She would rather vent her grief in private with her woman. She is bright, I think, wise. She would not want to take a false step rashly. I will go in and see. I will see if her grief will lead her to anything dangerous. I'll be.
The king comes here. The guilt is his to bear. Alone.
Oh, the sin of the erring soul drives hard unto death. Behold the slayer, the slain, the Father, the Son. Oh, the curse of my stubborn will, son cut off in the newness of youth. Dead for my fault, not yours.
Alas, too late. You have seen the truth.
I learn in sorrow. And upon my head, God has delivered this heavy punishment. Has struck me down in the ways of wickedness and trod my gladness underfoot. Such is the bitter affliction of man.
Sir, you have this, and more than this to bear. Within, there's more pain.
What pain can overtop this pain?
She's dead. Your wife, the mother of he that is dead.
Insatiable death, wilt thou destroy me yet? What fate awaits for me now? My son here in my arms, and there the other, the Father, the Son.
Look then and see, nothing is hidden now.
Oh, second horror! Wilt thou destroy me yet?
There at the altar she stood, with a whetted knife, waiting to thrust it through her heart as the darkness dimmed her eyes. And she cursed you, their slayer.
Oh, horrible. Is there no sword for me to end this misery?
Indeed, you bear the burden of 2 deaths, and those were her dying words.
And her last act?
Hearing her son was dead, with her own hand, she thrust the sword deep into her heart.
There is no man that can bear this guilt but I. It's true. I killed him. Lead me away. Away. I live no more.
The future is not to be known. Our present care is with the present. The rest is in other hands.
Come. Come, my last hour in happiness. Let me not see another day. Lead me away. Away!
'Tis best when all is ill, the soonest done, the best.
I ask no more than what I have already asked.
Ask nothing. What is to be, is to be.
I am nothing. I have no life. Lead me away. My hands have done amiss, and my head is bowed with fate, too heavy for it.
Of happiness, the crown and chiefest part is wisdom, and to hold the gods in awe. This is the law, that seeing the stricken heart of pride brought down, we learn when we are old.